that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about the permanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, to where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, welcome to this here episode 38 of the Degen Roundtable, where we are covering Bachelor Pad Economics by the great Aaron Clarey. Some might know him as Cappy. Some might know him as Captain Capitalism. Some might know him as the writer of this fantastic and awesome book. I wish I had my copy with me, but I left it up in New Hampshire. So shout out to you, Zenith, for actually having the damn book. It's excellent. My name is Will Stevenson. I'm going to be your host for tonight for this Degen Roundtable Book Club show. I'm joined today by three fabulous and beautiful guests. We've got Zenith, the jack of all trades, master of none, fellow host of the Degen Roundtable. Super cool and awesome. Fucking love to see you, Brody. We've also got Farmer Jay, our fantastic resident electrician, who also provides valuable insight and lots of entertaining comments in the Telegram chats for sure. And then we've also got our fantastic Mrs. Producer, an ideal team player in the making. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me tonight. We're about to find out what's new and exciting with you, starting with Zenith. What's up, broski? How you doing?
Not much. Glad to be back on another book club. It's kind of crazy to think this is the 38th one of this. Like, we've almost been doing this for a full year, I think. So
yeah,
exciting stuff. But
so
yeah, interesting read. Was a little thicker than the rest, a little more data driven and logical, so less narrative. So apologies to people out there that enjoy that kind of stuff, but I like this book. I think it has a lot of good stuff to get to, and like it's pitched, it's definitely kind of more of like a handbook or guidebook with like each chapter is it's separated and succinct, and it's its own beast. So there are some things that are very specific to some chapters and others that have more overlap. But at the end of the day, I'd say the theme is how to live the most economical life as a guy.
Yes, I agree. This book is definitely, it is targeted towards young. I mean, it's called the Bachelor Pad Economics, so it's kind of targeted toward young single men. I mean, realistically, a lot of me and Mrs. Producer were talking behind the scenes, and Zenith as well. We agree that pretty much like 80% of the book, it like can apply to just about anybody, but the audience for the book, that he definitely wrote it for younger men and young boys and stuff to have like a little bit of a head start as far as having actionable knowledge before they go and set out on the great journey of life. But we're going to continue with our introductions. Mr. Farmer Jay, broski, what's new and exciting with you, bro? How are you doing? What's going on? How's life?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Not much. Just just working and stuff. But other than that, the book was interesting. It was like more of a I didn't like it too much, to be honest with you. It was more of a just shit I already knew for the most part, but like you said, it might like you said, it's geared more towards a young man. As the oldest man here, I kind of like it was kind of more knowledge I already knew for the most part. There was some useful information in there, just especially when it came to the financials and setting up trust and going over different retirement plans. There was stuff that just it went over again. Stuff got kind of forgotten, but overall, it's a good instructional book. But I didn't find, especially when it came to women, it was too helpful for me personally.
Yes, Aaron Clarey is part of the Rule Zero Manosphere, the whole red pill pickup artist. He wasn't exactly like a pickup artist guru, but he's part of the whole like self-betterment era of the internet, where a whole bunch of men got together collected notes, talked about what works with women, what doesn't work with women, yada yada yada. And Cappy's a bit nihilistic and black pilled, like doomer mentality, like, oh no, everything's gonna go wrong, you're all gonna die, it's all nihilism, blah da. But he has fun
That's
with
putting
it.
it
So,
lightly.
yeah, it is putting it a little bit lightly, but we love Cappy despite his his downer look on things. But one more member of the panel to introduce, Mrs. McGettit. You are neither a bachelor nor childless. You have a wonderful young son, Soren, and you and Mr. McGettit are a fantastic couple over there. So this book is definitely not written and targeted towards you. I remember we were talking in the green room, and you were saying that, like, yeah, he was basically talking shit towards women or something to that degree. What did you what's new and exciting with you, and what did you let's hear your thoughts on the book if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay, so new and exciting first. We'll start with that. I've actually got a lot of stuff going on this week. I took a break from moderating the Finch group that I help out with, and have been just rearranging the house. So we took apart a couple of different big furniture things, got those cleared out. We're going to set up a new desk probably Sunday when Nate doesn't have to work. And yeah, just rearranging the house, getting things organized. I've been organizing my Pokemon cards as well. And I got a new headset yesterday. It is the same one as Will's, only it is pink.
Yes.
So so far the feedback has been that I sound better. So excited about that.
I got a question, Ms. McGettit. Was there a premium on the pink one?
No, it was actually on sale. It was $20 cheaper than the other two.
Usually there's a premium on the pink stuff for some reason.
Yeah, these have been out for like 2 years though, so probably there was when it came out. It was advertised as the quartz edition, so they probably tried to like play it off as like, oh, it's a limited edition pink thing, but then nobody cared, so now it's just cheaper. So yeah, sometimes that backfires because there's not a lot of actual female gamers who care enough to go buy these things that they try to make and market towards them.
I will say it sounds fantastic though, so good audio quality, and I am a little bit biased because it's the same type of headset as I got. So you chose well, is what I will say.
Well,
what else is new and exciting?
That's about it. We're just working on rearranging. We're getting progress made, and it's exciting to kind of see everything go. That fresh new look when you have like something changed and moved around, and like your whole living room is new looking at that point. That's kind of going on right now. So, like I said, it's been a lot of fun. Very excited to see where it gets to at the end of the weekend. I think that's kind of when we'll be at like a mostly finished point. As for the book, what?
The book time.
Yeah, as for the book, definitely didn't apply to me. Like basically all opposite of everything I am. I am first off not a bachelor, like Will said. Second off, I've been in an 11-year relationship with a 5-year-old child, and so yeah, it was interesting to read. Definitely was good information. I feel a lot like Farmer did. It's kind of a lot of stuff like I've heard this before. I already know this stuff, but if you're not somebody who's been in the book club and been through now 38 books or 38 episodes, because I suppose sci-fi was split into like 10 videos, so
oh yeah,
a lot of books though is the point. So we've been through a lot of this type of stuff already, so this one just kind of seemed like same things rehashed, but also kind of that was similar to the other Aaron Clarey book we did, where he said don't keep any belongings unless they have sentimental value, and both me and Zenith were like, go away, bro. He just tells you what to do. He just tells it as it is. He makes it like plain English, like if you do this, you're stupid, or if you do this, you're doing it wrong. So Aaron Clarey has very much that attitude. He comes from the same area as me, so I'm pretty familiar with it. A lot of people out here can be that way, but they usually don't do it as bluntly as he does. Usually it's more of a like behind the scenes type of way that people act and feel. So yeah, mostly I'm really interested to see how this resonated with all of you. I'm gonna kind of be this weird little outlier of like, hey, I'm the girl version of trying to read this.
Well, you also said that there was the girl version on YouTube.
Yes.
Was that any good?
I didn't finish it. Once I realized it wasn't talking about the book that we were doing, I was like, I need to get to the book then, because it was 10-hour audiobook. I was looking for a shortcut basically instead of listening to the whole 10 hours. I was trying to find something else. So when I realized it wasn't the same thing, I cut it off, but I listened to like the first 5-10 minutes. And basically what he was saying is what we've mentioned already that about, because I guess he's getting requests for the female version of this, the Bachelorette.
Sure. Yeah.
The Bachelorette pad in economics is what people are asking him for, and he's like, about 80% of this book can apply to either gender, so really not meant to be gendered. And if you're a female and you want to go get this information, just go read it. But the only real difference is you have to be able to read the parts that are not so nice towards women and get through them, not take that personally, not dive out of the book because you're offended. So you have to be able to basically do that. And then he said he had 6 rules for women, but I didn't listen to that part. So
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Well,
this I was gonna say this definitely was something I could not. I had to take off while I was driving with my daughter in the car.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's not exactly it's not like it's bad for children, but it's definitely not meant for younger girls. So it's meant for like young boys and young men and maybe like young adult men or something like that.
yeah, I believe he said the ideal age that he thinks that a man should pick this up is at 14. So
Yeah. That seems about right. Zenith, you look like you're cooking up a thought over there. What's on your mind?
Well, I was gonna say, I think this is a pretty similar. It's a similar idea to a lot of the other stuff I've read by Aaron Clarey, which is that you might think that it hates on women a little bit, but in reality, it kind of just hates on people, specifically the ones that suck.
Yes.
Because if you thought the dating chapter was unflattering, I would refer you to the legal chapter where he refers to lawyers as the scum of the earth. So
Yes.
don't think that he's singling people out. He calls out everybody.
Oh yeah, for sure, bro. It was such a fun book. But before we get too far into it, I need to do chat shoutouts because I'd almost forgotten. So let me grab my little chat shoutouts paper here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, you already know what time it is. It's time for the best part of the fucking show, where we shout out all the chats that you've been giving us because you're so kind enough to give us your attention and your thoughts. So we're going to reward you with little bits of dopamine and bring your comments up on screen, or at least the first ones that you post in the chat. So, Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind as to bring up our first one, we've got Mr. Hexagon Lost in Asia. He is here for it. Glad to hear, bro. Welcome to the show. Good to see you. Next up, we've got our very own, the Ascending Man of the Degen Roundtable, talking about old Cappy and having a good laugh. Yes. Nate, wherever you are. Oh, yes. Hello, my fellow Degens from the fields treating mice. Excellent. He's out there making sure that the mice can't get into people's houses. Doing a fantastic job, by the way. Shout out to Nate for being a fantastic pest controlman. But yes, Cappy, Aaron Clarey always wears the hats and Captain Capitalism. And then we got Hexagon Lost in Asia shouting out with the fist pump. Hell yeah, broski. Good to hear. Next up, we've got, looks like Moon-Pilled Rational Optics. We almost need some smooth jazz playing in the background with that book cover. Zenith, can you hold up the book real quick? Because I forgot what it looks like. I want to say it's Tango Dance. Okay, yeah. It's like a dancing scene, a party zone. That's right. I had forgotten. Yeah, we almost do need some smooth jazz. But like, honestly, I think that our intro song is pretty damn good. So I wouldn't trade it for any smooth jazz any day. That song pumps me up every time we play it. Next up, we've got Mr. Kenturian 54X. Shout out to Kenturian. Hey, Degens, what's going on, Kenturian? Good to see you, broski. We had an excellent time on Wednesday with Mr. Kenturian, Fast Abdul, Zenith, and myself, having some cool conversation. We were chopping it up, just having a great old time. I love it when the fam's always in town. Speaking of fam, next up we got Tam. Tam, what's up, my lovely fam? Tam, what's up with you two? Good to see you. Welcome to the channel. Apparently she loves pink though, Mrs. Producer. So
yes,
you seem to have chosen
my
well.
Headset. So I just wanted to say, me too.
Yep, excellent. There you got your pink going, and everyone's happy. Speaking of everyone, Mr. Glenn, Hex Glenn says hi everyone. Hi Glenn, good to see you, bro. Welcome to the show. And then finally we've got Mr. Tin Top saying, "What's up, Hexicans?" Throwing up the little peace sign. He is ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to rock and roll. You guys are ready to rock and roll. Speaking of rock and roll, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick little book synopsis, and then we will get right on into it. So first thing I have to do is pull up my notes, which I thought I had ready, but they weren't quite where I needed them. All right, so this book is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little about the tone and the style of the book. Like we've all kind of been mentioning, the book's written in Aaron Clarey's, like it's very direct. It's got no nonsense. and it's a bit controversial. It appeals more to men who appreciate blunt advice. Clarey mixes the financial strategies with life advice, blending humor with a critical view of modern societal trends that he believes are harmful to men. And I'll agree that there's a lot of stuff that's going on in today's world that sets men up for failure, sets them up for not being as successful as they could potentially be. I would say there's just a lot of bad advice floating around in the world that when people take it seriously, they end up in a place that is not ideal, and they're not leveraging the most optimal scenarios that that life has to throw at them. So that's kind of like the style. So the first part of the book, oh man, I fucking love the for those of you guys that didn't read the foreword, I read the foreword for this book, and the foreword is basically like, hey, you idiots, don't read forewords of books because they're stupid and pointless. You already have the book. You don't need someone who's shittier than the author telling you why you should read this book that you're already holding. So the foreword was fucking hilarious. But Cappy goes over the purpose of the book, which is just generally to make men smarter in the financial, in the career world, and in the life decisions in order to have like a successful and independent life and not basically be a slave to anyone. Then he kind of talks about childhood and how like when you're in your childhood zone, you should focus on self-discovery, learning the basic skills, fostering curiosity and how the world works while avoiding the pitfalls of modern education. So this doesn't only apply to like young people reading it as they're young people, but also like the parents of young people. So understand that like when your children are at a child's age, there's things that are beneficial for them to do and things that are not. He then goes on to talk, and the whole book is structured to basically follow like the chronological theoretical order of life. So beginning at childhood, ending at basically death, and then like some other shit thrown in there as well. Then he talks about adolescence and how adolescence is about preparing for adulthood by learning responsibility, gaining work experience, and avoiding distractions like peer pressure and early dating. So that's an important part of the book as well. He then talks about college, how it's a financial trap for a lot of people. People getting a lot of shitty degrees, paying a boatload of money to become professional underwater basket weavers, getting their MBAs and all sorts of silly stuff. And basically, it's for the most part unnecessary unless you're pursuing some sort of high-paying field or a STEM or some kind of trade job that requires a college education. But like for the most part, if you're going to get your history studies or your man, I can't think of any useless degrees other than underwater basket weaving and I guess history. But I'm sure there's a whole bunch of them out of there.
Gender.
Yeah, if you're going to study gender studies, if you're going to do women's studies, if you're going to do men's studies, if you're basically anything that ends in studies. If you're going to go into like 19th century papyrus studies, you're probably not going to be a very
how dare he insult my Chicano studies degree?
Yeah, what I want to know what you meant by that. I don't know what Chicano means. Is that a slur word in Spanish?
No, it's Chicano is more like the more, well, no, I wouldn't say
kind
Latin
slang,
American.
isn't it?
No, it's more of the what the like native like Mexican Americans call themselves a culture, but it's more specific to like the East LA and like San Diego area where it originated.
Okay.
You know that it's kind of like a Mexican American culture thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's one of those other bullshit fucking classes they have here in California. You know, along with the other studies.
It'd be like if there was like a North Dakotan studies or a fucking East New Hampshire studies or something like that. It's like
essentially, and like some of that is kind of like the Pachuco lifestyle back in the day, and the lowrider culture and that kind of bullshit. But essentially another dumbass fucking study program. Yeah, it is actually something that exists here in California.
Oh no, you're not kidding. Oh yeah. Fuck.
No, and he mentions it in the book. He says like if you're a Latina that studied freaking Chicano studies and now you can't find a job, it's like it's your fault.
Oh, yeah. Good for him.
Yeah, yes.
He was speaking directly to you, bro. Cheers.
Yeah, he doesn't pull, like you said, he doesn't pull any punches, which is quite refreshing.
He also mentioned and I guess insulted, according to him, tons of people who have gotten a degree in just English.
Yes.
He's like, why would you need to do that? It's the language you already speak.
Yep. Hey, shout out to all my English degree. I have a friend who's got an English degree, and they're talking about how it's useful at work and how it's helpful for like writing emails that communicate things clearly. But like as far as money making opportunity, there's not a lot of like careers in the like, hey, we need an English person, you know.
I mean,
So
unless you're planning on going like abroad and teaching English, I
yeah,
could see it being helpful
Actually,
then.
yeah,
apparently in Japan they will let people teach English without having to know Japanese. So that could
I'm
be
on my
yes,
something.
way. I'm on
yeah,
my way.
because
Makes sense. Can
essentially,
translate.
yeah, because you're essentially just a practice dummy. That's what you are. Is like you're a it's like it's like you're the punching bag for the Japanese students, but like for verbal, you know. So they're practicing their English. Punching bag's the wrong like feeling of the comparison, but like yeah, you don't need to speak Japanese to be an English teacher. I think that shout out to Charlie from Cultivate Crypto. I'm pretty sure that's how he got over in Japan at first, if I'm not mistaken. Charlie,
Yes, I
forgive me
believe
if
he
I'm wrong.
taught English. Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe he said, yeah, he was an English teacher over there.
I think you mentioned that a time or two.
And I
Anyway,
believe,
over the
yeah,
hop.
I believe he does have degree in English as well. If I
Yeah.
recall correctly.
hmm Shout out to Charlie. Good cat over there at the cultivate or the crypto mindset course, and then the cultivate crypto show. Hopping right back into the synopsis of the book, he then talks about careers, how people should focus on building a lucrative career early on, but be wary of corporate traps, and always keep an entrepreneurial mindset or side hustle for financial security, and also just to like retain a little bit of sovereignty and stuff. There's a there's a lot of problems that occur in chasing the corporate ladder climbing and things. Then he goes directly from there and starts talking about entrepreneurship, where and how it's like a great path for financial independence, but it requires careful planning, risk management, and not putting all your eggs in one basket. Then he goes into the next chapter, or the next section of the book, where he talks about girls and about how women in relationships can be either rewarding or financially dangerous, like incredibly financially dangerous. He wrote another book called the Book of Numbers, where he goes through like all of the costs associated with marriage, all the costs associated with child rearing, all the costs associated with divorce, and like he does like a pretty solid like cost benefit analysis of going through the process of getting legally married, tying your finances up with another person, yada yada yada, like what everything costs and everything. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, so relationships, women in relationships can be either very rewarding or financially dangerous, and men should focus on self-improvement first and approach relationships with caution. So this is actually something that I think can apply to women when you interpret it a little bit differently. Everyone should focus on self-improvement. Everyone should be the most attractive, best version of themselves they can be at all times, so that way you can be around more people. The more attractive you are as an individual, and like I'm speaking like as a man, I can be attractive to both men and to women, not necessarily like in the sexual sense, but in the like, do people enjoy being around me? Do people enjoy my presence? What can I do to change my behaviors to be more attractive? What are behaviors that are less attractive? You know, if I'm out hanging out with the boys and we're all like having a good time, and like I smash my beer bottle on the table and I stab them in the neck, it's not an attractive thing to do. And so like you can just extrapolate every single behavior you do as other people interpreting it as like, oh, do I want to be around this person more, or do I want to be around this person less? So in that sense, the whole idea of bettering yourself and focusing on self-improvement before you go and start like mixing your life with other people's life is, I think, pretty important, and that can apply to either of the genders. He then hops into a section about housing, avoiding unnecessary debt by renting or by either buying a modest home, while focusing on keeping housing costs low and possibly using real estate as an investment vehicle. I think that this is something that's actually pretty important as well. And also, guys, like on the panel, like take if anything in here sparks interest, let me finish going through the synopsis and then just like make a mental note of it, and we can come back and talk about it. And I'll also bring up some things and questions later. But the housing stuff, that's a super important one. Basically, just keeping the cost of your housing low. Too many people spend too much money, and it's kind of just the nature of the world that we live in now. I don't remember what year he wrote this book in, but it's a little bit different. Then he goes on to talk about cars and how cars are essentially all depreciating assets in the financial perspective. So, or in the financial respect. So, avoid buying luxury vehicles and opt for practical used cars to save money, and also get a motorcycle so that way you can collect the bitches, baby. That's the one thing that he said was like the most useful piece of advice in the book is improve yourself and get a motorcycle. Then he goes on to talk about marriage, and how marriage can be a financial risk for men, and they should approach it with caution, considering prenuptial agreements and understanding the legal ramifications of divorce. Divorce is a very, very messy thing. So he's absolutely right there. There's a like, you might not agree with the sentiment of what he's saying, but a lot of the factual stuff, it rings true. He then after that goes into retirement planning for early, like he wants people to plan for early retirement by saving aggressively, investing wisely, and understanding that traditional retirement age is not necessarily realistic for everyone. So not everybody's going to be retiring at 55, not everybody's going to be retiring at 65. We can all sort of kind of expect that we're going to die around 79. That's the average lifespan. So that's roughly 30,000 days, or there's a whole bunch of different ways to measure it, but like, if you die at 55 if you retire at 55 and you die at just about 80, that means you got like roughly 25 years of life, medical expenses, living, travel, all that craziness. Like, if you believe in the retirement campfire story, then those are some things that ought to be considered. He then goes on to talk about politics and how politics can affect your financial life, as like a background thing. But realistically, you should focus the most on personal responsibility and not being dependent on the government or social systems for your well-being. The point of his book is to basically get people to be sovereign. So if you're focusing on having the state solve your problems, then you're always going to be relying on the state, and the state's going to look out for its own interests before it looks out for yours. So just keep that in mind, and try and make yourself as powerful as possible without necessarily needing reliance on the state. He then goes on to talk about the larger scale of the economy, how it's unpredictable, and how men should prepare for downturns by diversifying their income, saving aggressively, and being prepared for economic volatility. So we're all in the cryptosphere, of course. This is a cryptocurrency podcast, so we are well aware of the volatile nature of the investment world and of saving aggressively, stacking that dried powder, and diversifying the income, whether it be through yield farming or staking or liquidity providing or things of that nature. So essentially, just make sure you've got a whole bunch of different options. Essentially, don't put all your eggs into one basket, and be ready for multiple things to fail. And he goes on to talk about the principle of living a minimalistic lifestyle, and he considers it essential. He's big on minimalism. It might not be for everybody, but it's an effective way to be like cost effective and also like not be bogged down by the things that you own. So if you own too many things, like if I have too many screws, then like each one of these screws is going to occupy a certain amount of my attention, and then I won't have enough attention to spend checking up on my son, or investing in my parents, or buying the cool car, or hanging out with the boys, because I'm too busy like playing with all the screws and things. That's a bad example. Couches, cars, houses, yachts, fucking surfboards, guns, you name it. Whatever people's guilty pleasure is, like, people like to buy and collect things. So a lot of folks' houses turn into really shitty versions of museums. And so just understand that there's a line that can be drawn there, and there's a lifestyle that stops you from falling into that trap. He also talks about, like, when you die, like, your stuff continues to exist. So like my flesh and blood is going to cease to exist before like this shipping container will. This shipping container will outlive me. Most of my possessions will probably outlive me. And so after like you get to that point, other people are going to have to deal with it. They're probably going to pawn it off or throw it in the trash. And so like just understand that when you live a minimalistic life, you're putting less of a burden on your heirs and the people that are going to have to deal with all of your things when you die. I think he talks about that a little bit later, but I'm just feeling like covering it right now. He then goes into legal matters, which, like, as Zenith said earlier, where he talks shit about lawyers and how they're terrible. But basically, like, it behooves you to understand everything in the legal world, not everything, but have like a broad spectrum understanding of how the legal system works, and to basically stay out of it as often as you can. The less you have to invoke the government in the things that happen in your life, the better you're going to be. So understand legal matters, particularly those relating to contracts, marriage, and business, as it's crucial for protecting your wealth and minimizing personal risk. Then he goes on to talk about children, kind of bringing it back to full circle. Having children is a personal choice with significant financial implications, and men should plan carefully if and when they decide to become parents. He also suggests everyone get vasectomies and basically just get like test tube babies if ever you want to have children again. But that's a fun part of Cappy's story. And then he finishes off the substance of the book talking about death and planning for death, including having a will, making sure that all your logistical affairs in order, your administrative affairs, and also like your personal effects affairs, to ensure that you leave a good legacy and you protect your loved ones from undue strife and things of that nature. And then so basically the conclusion of the book is that the path to financial independence and a fulfilling life is paved with discipline, decision making, and focusing on personal responsibility while rejecting social pressures. So that is the substance of the book. That is the general gist of it. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my panel while I take a quick drink. But do you guys have any thoughts on anything that I read, or is there anything that stuck out to you in the book that you want to focus this stream about? And I will take some notes as well whilst drinking.
I'll jump in here and say that it's quite the expansive array of topics, but there's two kind of guiding principles I think that we should probably talk about first. Number one is the philosophy chapter, and then number two is also the kind of preface chapter before that, which is that the philosophy that he operates on is kind of three different philosophies he talks about. The first one is finiteness, which is good news, you are going to die someday.
Yeah.
And
that was going to be the first question. Go ahead.
Correct. So that's number one. Number two is the concept of time, as in the way that he thinks about time is how you think about labor as metrics of time, which is that GDP is not per se by his definition, and also just the general definition, it's not the amount of money in a country. It's a representation of the amount of like effort, services, things, goods, investments, whatever it produces. So that's what it says. So he encourages you to think about your time similar to the GDP stat, which is like, don't think about what you do as like the dollar per se. Think about it as in like you are trading your labor, aka hours of your labor, for other people hours of their labor that is represented as stuff, things, money, services, food, entertainment, whatever.
Yep.
And the idea is that you want to be able to maximize your labor so that your labor and your time, so that your time is more valuable, so you can purchase other people's time as well. This is going to be a concept that we talk about later on, especially when we get to the kind of like the maintenance and repair chapters, which is that he does also allude to the idea that at a certain point, you need to make the most effective use of your time or your labor hours, which is that if you are a person that is capable of making $500 an hour as like some superstar doing something massive, it's actually more economical to pay other people to do maintenance and repair on some of the things that you could theoretically do maintenance and repair on yourself. Oh gosh, what was the final philosophy? Utility, or he calls it happiness, aka utility, but realistically, utility is a very large concept in this book. And if you read this book and you came to me and you said, I think the best way to describe this is brutalist and utilitarian, I would agree with you. Which is that it's one of the things that kind of this book specifically boils things down based on the goals that it lays out initially, aka happiness or utility, maximizing your life because it is finite, and then understanding that chunks of your life are worth a certain amount of your time. It can be traded for other people's times and their things specifically. So that's the stuff that ties it together going forward from here, which is that understanding how your life can almost kind of be boiled down mathematically to certain things that you produce, cost your time of production, and then also provide you a certain amount of happiness or unhappiness, depending on whether it's a positive or negative consequence. And then finally, the second guiding principle of the book is a little bit of cynicism, which is the idea that you said that he wrote this book chronologically, starting from a young boy to an old man to literally on your deathbed, but you're forgetting one crucial part, which is that his timeline begins with the failures of the boomers.
Yes.
And he says that the boomers are the ones who threw aside generational wisdom and then decided that they can just live in the most prosperous time ever, making up their own rules and philosophies, and just hope that it works. So he has some very, very choice words for the people that came before us or are still alive and kind of on the exit path, which he does talk about later on. I want to talk about the idea of the retirement savings bubble, or just the retirement bubble as well. But yeah, that's the principles for me. Understand the philosophies, is very utilitarian, and then also understand it's a bit of a cynical worldview, and he's not afraid to talk about the things that are impending and coming down the pipe.
Yep. He's got another book, Enjoy the Decline, and also The Menu. Those are very like in line with the cynical perspective that he has on where we're going and like all the shit that's coming as a result of it. And he's very like cheerfully nihilistic about it. Or cheerful is the wrong word, but
Correct, but
just
it's
like I can't do anything about it. Figure out a way to have fun.
that's true. Stoicism is probably a better word for it. Although
Yeah.
I know we call it cynical because it just sounds dour, but it's really just like an accurate read of the landscape and trying to understand what's going on without all just like the propaganda and the veneer of happiness over everything. So he would probably describe it more as a realistic view, which is like, look, I'm not putting moral arbitration on this. What he is doing is saying, these are the facts of the matter. This is what people claim to be about. If you are actually about those things that you claim to be about, this is how that math works out. So are you doing the math or are you not doing the math?
Basically.
I will say this, the bit of a dour point. The last thing I want to talk about tonight, I'm not going to get into it now, but the last thing I want to talk about is this reiterates the idea that came from Poor Richard's Retirement that we read. I think it was like book number 11 for book club.
Yeah,
But
11 or 12.
The idea is that
like
everything kind of sucks. You're trading your hours and your labors to get your own freedom back. But at the end of the day, the most positive thing that you can have is your fellow man, which is that you want to be the most interesting person that you can be. You want to be the healthiest person that you can be so you can enjoy your life the most. And then also be that person that other people want to spend their life with as well so that you can get together and do what he says, which is that some of the best nights of his life was getting drunk with the roommates playing Halo 3.
Yeah.
What's more than that? Come on. Me and
There
the boys.
is. Yes, I very much like it. Man, that's why you guys will catch me in the video game room so often saying like, hey, I'm hopping on Sea of Thieves. Whoever wants to join. You go swashbuckling. It's like, because sitting around getting drunk, playing video games with the boys, getting goals accomplished is like, it's pretty fucking fun. And so I agree with Cappy in a lot of his sentiment. And like being around people really is the entire reason of like raison d'etre of life. Like you guys already know one of the things that I do is I travel the states a lot and I just hang out with crypto bros. I hang out with people from my Marine Corps career. I hang out with friends and family that are just all over the place. And I can't say that I've ever regretted a single hangout with someone. And I've done probably close to 100 or 150 like stops and hangarounds over the past 5 or 6 years since I got out of the Marine Corps. And going and meeting people, it really reinforces the idea that like, yeah, people really are the most important thing in life. And there's like, you can buy cool things, but if you don't got anyone to share the experience with or tell the stories or like go throw axes or like just spending time with people is so much better than just having stuff. So
Bingo.
I totally agree with him in that sentiment. Farmer, was there anything that stuck out to you in that little synopsis thing that I went through? Was there any thoughts that sprang to mind?
Yeah, he said if you want some bitches, get some tattoos and pretend like you're a criminal.
that was actual life advice, which is tell the white lie that you have a criminal background, because it's like, what's it gonna do?
Yep.
Not hurt you.
Exactly.
He said, don't be an actual criminal.
What? Oh, we're not supposed to do that. My bad.
Yep.
No, you're supposed to lie about it, not be about it.
Hey, sometimes you can be a better liar if you've done the thing. So there you go.
The cold hard steel of handcuffs has never touched my wrist. I swear.
Yep. I believe you wholeheartedly, Farmer, without a doubt in my body. So being a criminal and telling lies. What about riding motorcycles, bro? That's important.
He says that at least 4 times in the book.
Yeah, he does. He likes his cycles.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. To me, I think that's like bad advice. Like why pretend something you're not? If you're not into that lifestyle, you shouldn't pretend to be that person. It's bad advice, because then it leads to if somebody perceives you that way, then they might want to take you up on that offer. When you're not that person.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, all in the pursuit of getting some ass. I don't see it worth it personally. Like just because you're trying to impress a female, say you're at a bar once out, and you want to pretend that you're this person, right? Because there's a girl there you're trying to impress, and then some knuckleheads actually walk in, and then next thing you know, you're actually involved in some bullshit over trying to get a piece of ass. Just go to the rug and tug down the street.
Yep. Jesus Christ. I didn't process what you were saying until it was too fucking late.
A little bit. Farmer, you do bring up a very good point there, and I think this is something that you can absolutely repeat throughout the book, which is that Aaron Clarey makes almost a mathematical calculation of, like, you can literally lie for calculated effect. However, what this book specifically does not do is have some sort of like philosophical or moral pinning from the sense of like a larger scale of like religion or even like natural law morality. It's more of just like pure calculation. So is there theoretically something you can gain by lying to a girl and saying you have a criminal record? Yeah, sure, they can have more interest in you or whatever, sex appeal. Is there downside to it? Also, yes. But even outside of that, there could be intangible effects, which is like if you are part of the group of people that believe that just truth in and of itself is a very moral and valuable thing. And when you abandon truth, you're actually going to start to kind of go down the road to degeneracy, because at that point, it's less about what's true and more about what's useful. And I'm not saying that there's a case for doing the things that are useful, but at the same time, this book in particular and arguments like that, they're specifically going to avoid the moral and philosophical question, and they're just purely going to look at those numbers and see, does this achieve what I want or not?
I was just having a conversation like right before the show started, before I hopped in the green room with a friend of mine, talking about like the only thing that matters is the useful stuff and the actions and the results, like the reasons and the truth don't matter insofar as they're not used or anything. I want to actually bring up this this fantastic quote by our good friend Moonpill. Thank you, Mrs. Producer. Hours in labor plus accumulate assists, not liabilities, equals freedom with friends. Yes. So you get wealthy, you get the stuff, and then you can hang out with people. Hanging out with people is the most important part. Having fun with the homies. I agree. Mrs. Producer, was there anything that stuck out to you while I was reading the little synopsis there, as like sticky or poignant or topic of discussion you wanted to cover before we start hopping into generic questions and things?
Not specifically in the synopsis, but
Okay.
one part
Anything in the
that
book?
stuck out to me, yeah. The one thing
Yeah.
that stuck out to me as I was going through it, and this is, I know I said earlier that, according to that YouTube video, some ladies have gotten pretty offended by this. The
Sure. Girls get offended.
Probably Cappy in general,
Part of life.
honestly. Anybody who knows him has probably gotten offended by him at some point in time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
Who hurt him? Who hurt him?
one thing that he actually did say that really resonated with me is that in our society, in America here, women have been really almost brainwashed in the Western world to start leaning towards that mentality that's going around now, the I don't need a man and a strong independent woman and I can do it all myself and all that crap, all that stuff. Because looking back at my own experience, that was poured into me.
Yeah.
You know, if you told somebody like I want to stay at home and cook the meals and take care of the kids, and you got shunned for it. Like it was, people hated you. Like it's
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, when you really stop to think about it, like he's got a lot of very, very good points, and that I think is so true. Because as soon as I started learning myself about Rule Zero and the red pill concepts, it's like, wow, everything I've been told my whole life has been a fucking lie. That's great to know, and it's just sad because when you look back at it, it's like that's so much damage and so much unlearning you have to do if you're even willing to unlearn all of that. And yeah, it was a very small like part of the book, but I caught it and I was like, okay, yeah, I really, really like that and I really agree with that. It's something I myself have thought about a lot when I started to like realize that was a thing. So yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm of the sentiment that I think that societal pressure is, and I don't know if it's directed, if it's accidental, if it's purposeful, doesn't matter. But the fact remains that societal pressure is something that like we all experience. I perceive it as like, because I'm a man, I live a man's life, and I see men things differently than you see women things, whatnot. So we'll each have our unique perspectives. But I see it as society pushes a lot of men to do more effeminate stuff, and they push a lot of women to do more masculine stuff. And so we end up with this like mix of like way too many people that unfortunately listen to what they think is good advice. And you've got a whole bunch of just like unattractive people that are just not what the other person really wants. Men don't want to date women that are like incredibly muscular or argumentative or have like some career or are like just like have a lot of like masculine traits. and women don't want to date dudes. And this is indicated by numbers and by outcomes less so than like the words that people say. People will say all sorts of things. People say like, "Oh yeah, give me the like the show me the muscle mommies." The I think they call them like waifus, like the waifu, but with the whey protein. Like give me the waifus, or give me the sassy bitches, or like the argumentative corporate girl or whatever wearing the pantsuit. And it's just like there's a lot of women following advice becoming unattractive to men. There's a lot of men following advice becoming unattractive to women. Too many dudes are getting like in touch with their feminine side, and they're not being like strong, independent, resolute, like steadfast beacons of leadership and masculinity. Instead, they're being like, oh, happy wife, happy life. Like I'd better kowtow to instead of being leaders, men are being turned into followers. And it's kind of like it's an unattractive thing for most women. So it's just my personal 2 cents. I'm right there with you though. Let me know if I'm off or something.
Oh no, very much agreed. I think it's quick conspiracy theory. I think it's being done on purpose, but let's not get into that because we don't want to get banned.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's something to that. I think that like a docile public is easier to control and manipulate than a public that thinks freely for itself. And so I don't think it's crazy to suspect that there's people out there that have a lot of power and have a lot of potential energy, whether you want to call it money, influence, attention, like literal like oil or whatever, right? People have the ability to influence through whatever means, political, we'll throw that in there too, right? They probably want to keep the power that they have, the potential energy that they have over other people. And so they're going to invest in methods and mechanisms that will allow them to like basically have a more docile following. Like if I want to remain in power, it behooves me to have a whole bunch of people that are not going to try and overthrow me. And so I have to make them like moderately comfortable. And also I have to like remove their ambition, but not like I can't like kill their ambition. I have to just like slowly present them a nice little like alternative, like, hey, drink that Coca-Cola that's full of sugar. Just take a nap and lie down on the couch, smoke that joint, like do all the things that are easy and feel good. Binge watch the Netflix series.
Yeah, basically the weaker you keep man, they won't challenge the people that are in charge. Even they like like you said, we can go into that conspiracy theory, but yeah, basically a weak male population leads to a population that doesn't question the status quo of the people in power.
Yep.
I agree with everything you guys are saying here, but I think I'm going to put my finger on a slightly different pulse here.
Yeah, I got a finger for you too.
Let's hear it, Z.
I was about to say something that should never be clipped on the internet, but we'll skip past this one. But to tie it back to Aaron Clarey's theory here, which is that he really blames the boomers for propagating a lot of very bad wisdom that is contradictory to traditional wisdom. And I think that one of the better explainers of this is I think his name's Rutger from the What If Alt Hist YouTube channel. And what he's talked about is that is very similar to the Ray Dalio book, The Changing World Orders, is that civilizations are very cyclical. And similar to the end of the Roman Republic, or I think it might have been the Empire actually, but the civilization kind of decays into decadence, and then it starts telling itself these lies and starts believing the lies, and then it will ultimately feel the consequences of that. Because we've gotten so far away from the survival scenario, we are able to have this almost like perversion of Pavlov's hierarchy, which is that people are trying to shoot for that self-actualization, but instead of like being self-actualized, what they're trying to do is actually kind of just reinvent philosophy as they see fit through the decadent lens of the first world country. If your view of human history and the inner workings of like genetics and what in evolutionary biology, if that is not applicable to every country in the world, it's not a very good model. And I think that's exactly what's happened here, which is that the ruling class, or we'll call it the ruling elite, or people that have traditionally been, we'll call it the higher crust of society, like well-educated, well-funded, that kind of thing, and also the most boisterous in the world and in the government, and more willing to actually like, I guess, like push for societal changes. The idea is that because we've been so far away from the the survival scenario, lies have been propagated, and then unfortunately it's also played into kind of that negative part of human psychology, which is that we still have some of that DNA from back in the day, when the reason that we care about societal pressure is because back in the day, being part of the society meant that you had a higher survival chance. So you cared about not being cast out by the tribe. Now, what we're seeing, especially in the book by Aaron Clarey's book here, is that he's more than willing to cast off the societal pressure thing and actually just use the frontal cortex to analyze these things properly. And that's where you arrive at a lot of the things we come to now. But again, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying there, which is that it does feel purposeful. It does feel like people are becoming weak. It does feel like incentives are being perverted. It does seem that human nature is also being perverted or pushed back against, and then people are willing to tell these lies and propagate it. But I think it goes back to the idea of decadence, which is that the society has progressed so far, it's willing to tell itself lies and believe those lies for the sake of not being cast out of society. Okay, that was a soapbox and a half, but that's my take on the philosophy here.
So, Zenith, are you saying that it's not necessarily something that's being done by higher powers on purpose? You don't necessarily think that's the truth?
I'm saying it's less of mustache twirling villain syndrome and more of people believing that they have achieved a higher plane of existence or reality or whatever you want to call it.
And so they can afford to do the easy thing.
Not that, but because it's kind of just like pseudoscience almost, which is that a lot of the sciences have kind of become a bit of like circular logic. What I mean by that is when you look at like all the different like papers and studies that get published that are just like clearly just like bullshit pseudoscience, but they get published in the journals, in the paper, in all the medical journals and the research journals because they fit a specific narrative that is being driven by political parties, ideologies, current trends and movements in the culture, whatever it is. It's that it's less of people discovering truth and people rationalizing their own emotional state to believe that they are doing something better than themselves because, I mean, we cast off religion like pretty close to or pretty soon after World War II. And then since then, this is Uncle Z speaking here. I think that humans have been trying to fill a God-shaped hole in their hearts for a long time. And that is how we've arrived at the current scenario.
Yeah. We all need the religion. Some of us fill it with cryptocurrency. Some of us fill it with philosophy. Some of us fill it with like
with a human
science. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like there's always going to be the emptiness. There's always going to be the sense of purpose.
To double tap my point though, it sometimes feel like there is just an evil cabal of shadowy hooded figures where it's like some of these things just seem so obvious when you take a step back that it almost seems malevolent and just like pure mustache twirling villainy. But at the end of the day, it is still theoretically rational actors acting rationally for their own self-interest. Their self-interest just might happen to be different than yours, or it might also be on a different level that you just can't understand. Because like some people are at the point where they have enough like political power, enough networking, enough finances, or enough governmental access where they feel that they can play chess on a different level than you. I can play chess with my bank account and what I purchase and what I start a business, but some people can play chess on I can move millions of troops across borders.
Yeah. Yep. And that seems like the means for them to accomplish their goals. It's like one of the things Hormozy said is like show me the size of a man's problem and I'll show you the size of the man. And it's like the ability to have these types of issues is just like the scaling problem that we'll experience, going through life. We want to scale up and have bigger level problems that we can solve, or we want to stay at whatever level we decide we're okay with, and then it's like you whatever level you're set with, you have to recognize and understand that there's like people that you have authority and power over, and there's people that have authority and power over you, and that just like I can't stop fucking Zelensky from fucking dropping a grenade down some water hole somewhere. Like I can't change the political landscape or landscape, that's the word. I can't change the political landscape in any country other than like, the country of will inside my shipping container. The goal for me is to try and become more powerful so that way I can change more of my life and have more of an effect on what's important to me. They're doing the same thing at a higher level, and I would agree, Zenith. I don't think it's really mustache twirling villains. I think it's people chasing self-interest, and we just happen to be collateral damage. It's not. I don't think it's malice. I think it's just simply. Like you put it very well when you said that they're just doing the thing that makes sense to them to get their goal accomplished, and not thinking about the negative externalities or not caring about it. You know. So it behooves you guys to become powerful. And so
I was going to say we'll form our own cabal soon.
There you go. Yeah, the cabal of Hex, baby. Fucking hell yeah for that price action. But yeah, I think we've been, man, I don't even remember what the fucking original question was. It was Mrs. McKenna. We were talking about the thing that you thought was interesting, how
talking about how society is collapsing and men are becoming women, or women are trying to be men, and no one's happy as a result, and Cappy's just pointing it out.
Yeah, and there's pressure being applied. So like essentially just try your best not to fall for peer pressure and surround yourself by people that don't pressure you to do things that might be bad. And how do you know they're bad? You learn about them. You have to get the knowledge, and then you have to act on the knowledge. So like read these books with us, hang out with us here on the Degen Roundtable, where we talk about problems like that until we get banned, and then we have to do it in Telegram.
I was gonna say the more weak man there is out there, the better for us, right? Less competition.
So there is a point to that. There is less competition, but it also kind of like muddies the waters and ruins the mental zeitgeist of all. So like you're correct, there are less men out there that we would have to compete with. However, there's also more shittier women that are ruined by shittier men. You know, like their idea, like hop on Facebook or hop on Instagram or hop on Twitter,
thank you,
and ask people about their dating history. Most people just have terrible dating history. And the reason is because we're all surrounded by terrible people most of the time. And so it kind of like it poisons the well. And so if you do happen to find someone nice and they've been unsullied by the environment, or they've got some good like foundation of character like built or something, then like stick to those people, hang around with them. You know, that's what, again, this is a good time to plug the Degen Roundtable. Join the Degen Roundtable, everybody. Go to t.me/DRT, join now, and hop on into our Telegram. What a smooth transition. Yeah, I'm gonna drop the link in the chats below for you guys. If you don't know how to, you can scan this little QR code that's right down there. Bam balam. Scan that QR code. Become a part of the Degen Roundtable.
Right under my mic.
Yep. Come hang out. It'll be a good time. We'll all have lots and lots of fun. Man, we went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Let me pull up my my questions that I wanted
it's
to
all
ask
stuff
you guys.
that we've all danced around these ideas before, but we don't really like ever get too much into them, just because we don't usually find like literature that specifically deals with it. But again, everything it's kind of an undercurrent, if you will.
We're also trying not to get banned, and some of these topics are not so favored by YouTube, unfortunately.
I suppose so. I think we're kind of a small fish in a big ocean, so as long as we don't say like the algorithmic triggering words, which oops, we might have already, like I think that we'll be okay. You know,
most likely.
Worst comes to worst, we still got the Telegram.
I gotta
that comes to mind too, is all.
I was gonna say I have a counter for the anti-algorithm. We love Kamala Harris.
Oh yes,
yes.
Big DNC fans right here. Oh yes,
ready to go on vote.
We really gotta help Ukraine win this war, gang.
See, there you go.
Become unburdened by what's the fucking
our YouTube channel will become unburdened by what has been said.
Yeah, unburdened by that which has yet to be, or some
unburdened by which has been, I think.
Unburdened by which has been.
Pretty much trying to say you'll become unburdened by everything you did, aka consequences aren't real if you don't believe in them.
I would love to see her talk for
Hakuna
2
Matata?
hours. Yeah,
What
what a
is
wonderful
that kind of what
phrase.
that just means? Like that
Basically,
like a wrap up of a Hakuna Matata type of idea.
Yep.
But all right.
No worries for the rest of your days. All right, guys, I've got some questions. All right, so we're going to start at the beginning of life, at the or actually no, we're going to start with the introduction. So do you guys agree with the premise that men today need specific financial advice tailored to their experience, or do you think that financial advice or guidance should be more universal for young men? Because that's kind of what the book is about. It's about giving not specific financial advice, but like advice tailored to, man, I fucking phrased that all sorts of wrong.
So
what are your thoughts?
The answer is yes. This book,
there you go. That's a good
sorry.
answer.
The answer is yes. This book exists not in a vacuum, but in the time that we currently live, which is that this book is written by Aaron Clarey after living his life and seeing the conditions of the ground, whether it's socially, economically, or I don't know, politically with the United States. So one of the things is that he specifically talks about in the book is that men are actively not disadvantaged, but kind of rallied against in the current state of the United States, which is that especially when it comes to the education system is designed to create good factory workers. Men at the best essence of being men are not good factory workers because they're out conquering the frontiers, protecting and building. And that is not sitting in the factory on the assembly line for 12 hours a day. So because of that, there is the idea that some of the things you've been told are you're just straight up being lied to, whether it's dating advice or whether it's economic advice, or it's just the wisdom of the boomers, which he is most proudly to rally against in this one, which is that there was a time and a place for the wisdom of the boomers, or wisdom as he's going to call it, but it has clearly created the situation now where it is no longer helpful or even useful to stick to. So he's trying to do what the boomers did, but in a productive way. That is why, that's why you wrote the book.
Yeah. Do you think, Farmer, that you would have benefited from this book when you were younger? Do you think you would have read it and like taken it to heart? Or do you think you would have read this book and be like, man, fuck this dude. Who the hell does he think he is?
No, I think I would have had some benefit from it because I mean, a lot of this stuff that's here, like I've actually learned growing up, being around like strong masculine men, and like I think, like you were saying, if this book, I think the original purpose, right? Do you think like that we can be helpful, right? And I think that in today's society, like men don't have direction. Like they're literally where fathers and strong masculine figures used to teach men how to be men. It seems like society has pawned that off to schools. But in the school system, if you remember elementary school, there's very few men in elementary schools that are teachers. It's majority of female teachers. So I think that we do in this society, we have a problem with teaching masculinity at a very young age. And like you were saying that in school, they're taught to be factory workers, right? So we grew up with a generation of men that thought there was something wrong with them because they didn't want to sit still. So what did society do? They just drugged them and said they had HDAD. They gave them a bunch of pills and told them there's something wrong with you for not wanting to sit here. And that is because like you're literally fighting against nature. We do not want to sit still. We want to go play with sticks when we're young. We want to go jump off trees. We want to throw rocks at each other. Like we want to fight. Yeah, like that. That is the nature of men. And it seems like now society has told men that we should be ashamed for being men instead of embracing it. And it's like, to me, like I said, I grew up with the opposite of that, like embracing that part, like that men should be men. Like when I grew up, and I grew up like in a church, right? And we had a group of the kids were separated between men and women, or boys and girls, and the girls were taught to do certain things and the boys were taught to do other things. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so like we were taught, like, camping, reading the stars, reading the compass. First time I ever shot a weapon, I believe I was like 8 years old, and it was on a camping trip with a church group.
That's awesome.
So like I said, I grew up with like strong masculine figures when I was small, and I think like we've taken that away from young boys nowadays, and we told them that there isn't a difference between men and girls, and there is a very, very strong difference, and that we should be ashamed to be men, and that's absolutely wrong. Like we should not be ashamed of who we are. Like there's a difference between us, and we both serve on our purpose on this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Strengths and weaknesses, high leverage, low leverage, all that. I like that. That's super cool that it was like a church group going shooting. That's awesome. I did Boy Scouts a little bit when I was younger.
So it was essentially like a Boy Scout group, but it was a Christian base.
That's awesome.
So think about it exactly like the Boy Scouts, except with scripture and religious component to it.
That's pretty
cool.
Like
we would literally go out camping like in the middle of nowhere, go on like late night nature hikes. Like how in Boy Scouts you guys earn badges. We had our our rewards and medals as well.
That's awesome, dude. I love to hear it. I still keep. Oh, you just muted yourself.
Oh, there we go. And competition, and we were talking competition with other groups as well. Like, so there was like you know how you guys had your troop, your particular troop.
Yeah.
We had our particular outpost, and we would compete against each other in basketball tournaments, shooting competitions, archery, like, boys stuff, basically.
I like it. I like it. Just so you know, your microphone has shifted. I think it's doing input from your webcam. Check your settings here, or oh, it sounds like microphone might have turned back on. Can I get a sound check?
Is that better now?
Oh, that's much better. Yeah. We heard everything you were saying. It was just a little bit more
okay, yeah, I probably went to my webcam.
But yeah, all good. So excellent. So that's cool, man. The Boy Scout. Zenith, did you ever do any Boy Scout stuff? Mississippi Get It. Did you ever do any Girl Scout stuff?
I did Boy Scouts for like 1 year, but it was kind of bullshit. I'm not gonna lie, specifically the group I was in. But outside of that, yeah. I mean, a lot of that stuff kind of came during my time in the military. Like I got right here, Dutton's Nautical Navigation. I've spent many a day with this book, specifically looking at Chapter 21, Identification of Celestial Bodies. That was kind of my specialty when I was a JO back on the boat. It's stuff like that where it's, if you're not going to be taught it, you got to seek it out. But at the same time, if you don't know the thing exists, you're not going to be able to seek it out because you're looking for a thing that you don't even know you should be looking for.
The Dangerous Book for Boys. Oh, is that the same guy, Don Golden? Or Gon? Wait, Don Sutton was yours, Zenith, right? Gon in Igulden. That's pretty cool. I like that. The Dangerous Book for Boys. What's the down and dirty of that, Farmer? Also, you're muted, so. What is this? Oh, tying knots on trees, going arch. Man, that's super cool.
Yeah, so it's a nice little interesting book I found, and then it teaches you like just different stuff we should know.
Signal flags.
Wow. And different type of fish, what's edible, what's not. Things that we don't teach anymore.
Yeah. Good. I mean, like now we go to Walmart and we look if it's the right color or not, if it's factory or if it's organic or whatever.
And in the set, there's actually a book for girls as well. And it teaches like knitting and stuff. There is in this book as well. It teaches a man how to knit and sew as well. You're in emergencies out in the middle, but it's geared more towards boys, and then the other one's geared more towards girls. But there's some information in there that overlaps.
Does it have like fighting sections, like how to throw a proper punch, like judo takedowns or anything like that?
I haven't gone through all of it, so I wouldn't know. I found this book. Found this book at a yard sale once, like a few years ago, and I just thought it was interesting.
Okay, yeah, that's a super cool book. I will say for any of the super young boys that are listening right now who haven't learned how to throw a punch or anything, when you throw a punch, you're basically connecting your hand to the ground via a straight line all the way through your body down your foot. So you're pushing off with your foot and you're pushing out with your hand, and you're basically pushing the other person against the earth, and you're there in the middle. So that's the general principle of throwing a punch. So now you guys know
the general principle of how not to break the many small bones in your hand as well.
That's important. Yeah, make sure you got good you want your knuckles to be aligned with your forearm. You don't want any weak and floppy wrists or anything like that. So you have to like clench your wrist as you're connecting. You also want to like connect and twist just a little bit while you're doing it, but that's more like fine tune later on stuff. Mrs. McGinn, I want to toss it over to you. Did you ever do any like Girl Scout stuff growing up, or any like homemaking or stuff of that nature that helped you out?
Yeah. Girl Scouts actually was kind of useless. I did that for I think like a semester in school, but it was all like in a classroom, and I think the only thing I remember from it was we made like these like clay masks, and that was it.
A useful skill.
I would. Yeah. Okay. Sure, if you say so. But and my middle school was really cool with some of these things. We had home ec in there, and we got to like make food in the classroom and then bring them around and like give them to people, and that was really fun. I learned how to make egg rolls. I don't remember that anymore, but that was something that we did.
How to bake bread. How to
calm
a crying child.
They never taught us how to make bread, and I never did any like. Actually, when I went to school, sadly, sex education was discontinued. So we never went through the experience of like raising a kid. I had 1 year of it, and then
Never
they
did
were like,
the flour
we're
sack
getting rid of that.
baby.
Yeah,
Oh,
or the
boy.
egg one.
I
No.
never did those either. That was not a thing where I was at. So I never got the little egg or the potato sack or something.
Yeah, all the
Are the
sex
ones?
education I got was all the pictures of the STDs you can catch.
Yep,
Oh, geez,
they were
that's intimidating.
very they were very interested in showing that to us, which I don't have an opinion on other than like
You know,
strange.
I actually do have an opinion on that. And really quick here, I know last time when we did the duo book club, the Just You and Me Will, I had talked
Yeah.
a little bit about the Ender series and where they're going.
Yeah.
That was something. Oh crap! I'm losing my train of thought now. That was something that they had mentioned. It was very brief, but that reminded me. I forgot. Hopefully, it comes
Sex
back
ed
to me though.
stuff.
It was something about the woman-centered societies. That's, I think,
Gynocentric social order. Yeah.
showing STDs in school goes back to that idea. It's trying to discourage people from going out there and being loose and having tons of kids everywhere because
Yeah.
it's gearing things more up towards the female incentive of shelter and security.
Yes.
That's what that
No
made me
risk
think of.
taking. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Life
Yeah,
is full of risks.
I think it kind of sucks that they took away like home ec and wood shop and mechanic. Like cook, like even for women, like cooking is just an essential skill to have. Like you have to cook for yourself as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was
Unless
so much fun to learn because they gave you, like, anybody can toss a box of mac and cheese into the water and hopefully figure that out. My mom has burned mac and cheese, so we can't say that everybody can do it, but for the most part. To be fair, I think I've done that too because I forgot I had something on the stove once. But no, like it was cool stuff, like to make your own bread, to make sausage links out of like the casings and the actual meat and
that's
stuff
what I
like
mean.
that.
Useful
that's
skills to
cool.
have.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean you're
RIP
gonna
shop
use them.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RIP shop.
Yeah, I think I think where I grew up, I was like one of the last wood shops. And after
I
that,
think
they
I had a wood shop class too
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah, there was one in my school, but I was one of those nerds that elected to do drafting, and so I was fucking around on SolidWorks and CAD and all that stuff, like drawing houses and things, which is funny. It's what Sam does now for a living, so kind of funny how things turn out. But yeah, so Mrs. McGee, so you did some sort of stuff. There's this springs a thought to mind. One of the things that I think I was talking to Sam about this. Forgive me, Sam, if I'm misspeaking, but might have been someone else. I don't remember conversations who I have. I just know that I speak a lot. The back in the Victorian era, or like a little bit before, like in between medieval and like industrial. Basically what would happen is when boys stopped becoming boys and started becoming young men, they would be sent away from the family and they would go like be a like an intern or like an apprentice to some person who did like a blacksmith or a cobbler or like a wheel maker or a shipbuilder or something. They would go and they'd join the workforce after like somewhere between like 7 to 13, something like that. They would stop being a child and they would go and they'd go be serious and like start their journey to becoming a young man. And the young women, they would go and they would be like not Hausfrau, because that means housewife in German, but it's similar to like being a maid or lady in waiting. That's what they were called, lady in waiting. It's when you're young, like an old girl, young woman kind of thing. You basically get sent to some other like person who's like some wife or so. I wanted to say MILF or something at first, but like you get sent to like an older family or like a different person's household where they're raising children, or like there's a pregnant wife and they need help around the house, and you basically just like you help out, you learn all the things that it takes to be like a helpful housewife, while like the young boys are out learning like how to be a good like blacksmith, or how to be like they're basically out there doing on the job training of what is like basically probably going to be the thing that they do with their lives. And so like I thought that was interesting, and I want to get your guys' takes on it. Do you think that would be useful if the young boys or the old boys, young men, got out into the workforce earlier as like like in like a specialized spot? They're not like being the ones to like fucking drill the holes in the wall, but they're handing the tools, they're learning the name of the All the jargon on the job. They're getting like the low level entry level stuff, and then the young girls would be going to other houses and things and yada yada. Like what exactly. Moon-pilled rational optics, 100% learned by doing. Sounds like Moonpill.
There used to be a word for this, and it was called apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he kind of goes it through in one of the college chapter, right? How most of these people have these worthless degrees, but yet they think they're better than people that don't have them, just because you sat in a classroom for years. And it's like what are these kids learning in schools nowadays though? Like if you look at if you look at what most of these teachers look like, they couldn't educate anybody on any subject. They're dumber than dirt.
Yeah.
Like, especially when you're talking about like elementary school, middle school, and high school, a lot of these teachers are trash. So you're literally sending your kids there to waste their time, and you're literally teaching them to you're teaching them to be, like you said, a 9-to-5 employee, which is like we can get into the history of the Rockefellers and when the schools were first established and why they were established. They were literally established to train a new workforce for themselves.
Specifically like obedient factory workers and soldiers kind of like mindset is like raise your hand if you have a question. You have to ask to use the bathroom. The bells will signal like when you're done
have
doing
break,
this thing.
And you have break during this time, and then during you have recess, you have a small break, and then you have a bigger lunch, and then you get back to what you're doing, and then you go home, which is basically what you do at work. You have a small break, then you have your big lunch, and then you go home. That's exactly what we have now, which like I think for the most part, the school is useless. Especially I think he goes through it right. That most of the stuff you can teach yourself now through YouTube. Like,
baby.
You can learn so much from other people out there that actually put out content that's a lot better at teaching you what you want to learn than where you're gonna learn at an institution where you're basically like college is basically just a fuck fest. You're paying to go fuck somewhere.
And get drunk. Different college experience than you guys then.
No, I didn't go. I went to trade school. But
went to a military school.
I got fucked by the government, baby. That's what I did with my college time. Is I went out and fucking.
Zenith, you guys are having some Diddy parties, huh?
Look,
you said it was all boys.
It wasn't all boys. Although you don't really want to. I'm not going to get myself in trouble on this one.
Probably for the best. I will say, Zenith, have you ever mopped a concrete sidewalk in the rain?
You ever fucked up so bad you had to go mop up the rain? No.
Yeah, you go mop the rain.
Do that.
Okay.
But I will say I may have gotten in trouble and had to do a marching tour or two as punishment. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means for 1 hour is one marching tour. You grab your rifle, nice M1 Garand with a lead barrel, and then they play a cadence, and you march back and forth across that courtyard for an hour, and that's one marching tour.
Good times.
You get in enough trouble, and you end up doing 100 of them. You're called a centurion, and what you're supposed to do is cool. You open up. There's a secret panel in the back of the M1 Garand for the wooden stock. You can flip it open.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was for. I think it's for a cleaning kit initially.
Yeah, that's a cleaning spot.
But what people do is they'll usually the rifles get passed around between cadets every year. But what some people do is they'll actually like sign their name, maybe write a little note. And they usually stick like 1 or 2 cigarettes in there, and they put them in there.
Yep.
So when you finish it, you're supposed to have your victory smoke, and then you get 2 more cigarettes and stuff them in there too for the next poor bastard.
Yep. Never knows best. I like that. That's fucking awesome. We're gonna get back on topic though. Speaking of the poor bastards, we're gonna shout out the poor bastards who have to listen to us talk. I wonder if anyone hey, if you guys are having your kids watch our show, let us know in the comments, because if there's children out there that are learning from us, I would love to know about it. I don't know if what we have is good conversation or educational content for kids, but hey, it's time for fucking chat shout outs, baby. So, Mrs. Producer, if you would be so kind as to bring
definitely better from what they're learning in school, though.
I mean, yeah, they'll see some real life human interaction. Speaking of human interaction, we've got my brother Sam Stevenson saying like the video. Abso-fucking-lutely right. Thank you for joining us, Sam. Glad to see you here, broski. I will see you tomorrow, bright and early in the morning. Yes, indeed, of fantastic stud, if I say so myself. Next up, we've got, I'm not actually on the, Ninja Magoo! What's up, broski? We had a great conversation yesterday. Man, that was super cool. I have not forgotten about our homework assignment, and I hope that you have not forgotten either. Shout out to Ninja Magoo, an excellent gentleman of fine caliber and good conversationalist, just an all-around stand-up guy. You guys can probably find him in the Telegram. I think that's where he and I reached out to each other, was on the Degen Roundtable Telegram. Super cool cat. Great to see that you're watching the streams, broski. Welcome to the Degen Roundtable family. Good to have you. All right, and then I believe that's all of them for chat shoutouts. Okay, excellent. And
you still gotta read what he said, though.
Don't be. Oh yeah, I should. Don't be needy. Be needed. Yeah, you're right. Shout out Magoo. I didn't actually read the words. Don't be needy. Be needed. And that's essentially just like stop relying on other people. Become awesome. You know, and then other people will want to be around you. And the more people that want to be around you, the better that life's going to be, and everybody fucking wins as a result of that. So,
and then I wanted to highlight this one just because I agree with this.
Let's hear it. Good punch advice. Thank you. Thank you, Hex Glenn.
That.
Yeah. Now you guys know how to throw a proper punch. A lot of people, when they throw the punch, they whip their body backwards, but it's like, no, when you throw a punch, you're pushing them with the earth and you're just stuck in between. You're just a spring. That's all that you are.
Some people also throw in this manner and then, trip themselves and hurt their foot, because that's basically what happened to me.
Ooh, who are you punching? Who are you?
I wasn't punching. I wasn't punching anybody. I said I threw something, and I did like exactly what you described, like whipped back and like
it
was a bad idea.
Yes. When you're throwing a punch, your center of mass should be forward of your stance for a short period of time before you retract. So. Yes.
Hey, Will. Speaking of poor bastards in the chat, I want to drive Nate McGettit out there a little bit crazy and talk about macroeconomics.
Ooh, let's do it. Let's hear some macro.
Or tell you what, there's two economic principles in the book that Cappy covers that I wanted to discuss with you guys. The first is property or real estate / whatever your dwelling is, and then the second is the retirement account stuff. But let's talk about property first. So. I think that this book is actually kind of a little antagonistic to the traditional advice that you probably hear from people in the investment space, which is I think that having real estate and having rental properties is very much glorified. But in this book, Cappy actually tells you, like, if you're going to do that, you got to be about it, because understand there's more to it than just the numbers. There is maintenance, there's repairs, there's people problems, the entire human element too, and Cappy's favorite, taxes. I think he talked about how when he was in Montana or something, or Michigan.
South Dakota? Oh, Michigan.
Whatever. I think he said that they raised taxes on him like 400% over the course of like a decade or two or something.
Jesus Christ. That might have been Minnesota.
Minnesota, thank you.
He specifically mentioned Minneapolis at one point with bad tax stuff.
There you go. Yeah. That's a perfect example of, like, he did the math and the numbers because he's the economist guy. So he had the rental properties, and then there was a point where the property taxes were so high that he literally was losing money on the deal, and he's like, all right, well, time to get out of it. So would you guys take what do you think about his take on real estate? The idea of, like, is it worth it to buy a house, rent?
Oh, like get the minimal house? I think that getting a minimal house is fantastic. I mean, fucking I live in a damn shipping container, ladies and germs. Oh, actually, you can see the back for once. It's clean in here. We took all the tools out. But yeah,
nice.
I think that the minimalistic living is a great way to go about earning capital. Where the fuck do you guys think all my dry powder comes from? It doesn't come from me working. It comes from my per diem, baby. So because I'm living in the more money that you can save by cutting costs.
Per diem money.
Yeah, bro. I'm getting
must be nice.
It is nice. Hey, I can fucking climb 2,000-foot towers. There's some nice things that happen in addition to all the shitty things.
He's supposed to be going and getting himself a nice hotel, but hey, just grab a sleeping bag in the corner of your sleeping container and you're all good.
They pay me. They don't care what I do with the money, and it's tax-free. So, like, if you guys can land a job that, like, gives you a carte blanche per diem rate, like, that's some good fucking money, right? It basically doubles my salary. And if I'm not,
I was gonna say when they were building up the solar farms in, like, the eastern portion of California, the per diem over there was nice,
dude. So I fucking bet, man.
What guys would do is they would bunk up get a hotel, put like 6 guys in there. You're working 12 hours. You're just sleeping and working. So,
Yep.
You know,
Sleeping and working, man.
To cover the book real quick, I think that there's 2 strategies that Cappy talks about. Strategy number 1 is that don't buy property until you find a place that you are absolutely in love with and you know you want to be long term. Up until then, he talks about renting, talking about traveling a lot, talking about moving around if possible, having that kind of nomad lifestyle so that you're not stuck in one spot and then you have the ability to actually go see the world and have your eyes open to everything out there. The second strategy, sorry, go for it. Yeah.
I did have an answer for your initial question. I wanted to say one thing that he mentioned that really resonated with me is the idea of a lot of people have it on their bucket list or as a retirement plan to buy an RV and then travel and see the country. And he's like, why wait? Like you can do that at any time. You don't need to live in this big fancy house until you're in your 60s or 70s. You can just go buy something smaller and then just literally live in that. And I've always thought that like it's I agree with him is what I'm trying to say. So Zenith, that was kind of my answer to your question.
No, that's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, so I'll finish up the point I was trying to make here. So the second strategy I think Cappy's famous for talking about is the Bachelor Shack or the shipping container, as Will's doing there, which is that just understand that as a bachelor, you are the smallest economic unit possible. Just a single dude that is able to live in conditions that other people might like, I don't know, give you a balk at. That is the correct word. Thank you, Will. But yeah, so there's that. But at the same time, it very much recommends don't settle down until you find the place that you know you want to be long term. And even then, like his case in Minnesota, it might not be that way forever unless it's actually the correct spot. But Mrs. Producer actually brings up another really good point. I know we've a lot of dour points here, but this also dovetails into the idea that not only does Cappy think that your fellow man is the best part about living, but also experiencing the world is the other best part of living. Going for beautiful hikes, going for cool motorcycle rides, doing cool things, experiencing and like seeing the beauty of the world and just being witness to all of it, so to speak. You can do that a lot easier if you have a housing situation that encourages you to travel more. So,
if you're not landlocked, you can go ahead and move around as you want. Like if you're renting, you can always say, you know what, I'm not renewing my lease for next month. I'm out of here. So I think for the most part, I also agree with him of why lock yourself in, especially the only reason why I see the functionality of actually owning a house you live in is to raise a family, because you want your own private space for your family. Other than that, I don't see a point in owning a home that you're like staying at. Unless you're like out in the middle of nowhere, that'd be nice. Like if you're out in the middle of the woods, that's different than I think what most people see as owning a house. I think most people idea of owning a house is the suburban picture, right?
So, I mean, there's another point that Cappy makes, but it's more about automobiles, which is that are you making your economic purchases for status symbols or for practical effect? If you were purchasing real estate can also be one of those where people very much get locked into the idea of status. But at the same time, though, I'm very much going to recommend, especially some of my young enlisted guys, I'm like, look, I know the BAH was garbage. Don't live in the ghetto. Like go spend the money to be in a safe area or an area that you're not going to hate your life. Because fun fact, you might hate your life at work, so don't hate your life at home too.
Yeah, there's one thing to be said for this. Obviously through time and the ages, I think this has become less of a stigma, but it used to be shunned to live in something like a trailer park, even if it was a nice trailer park. There were a lot of negative things that came with that, or negative impressions that people got, and I think that's kind of why the mentality nowadays is more so, I don't want to live in something like that. I want to live in this house or this nice area where people are going to look at me and see me as like, it's impressive that you live there. And Aaron Clarey literally was talking about he bought like 3 cars throughout several years, and he spent like $8,000 on them in total and got 300,000 miles out of them, versus like somebody who goes out and buys a sports car and then they're spending unseemly amounts of money on that. He just has some very valid points about not living to impress other people, just living to get through the day and then worrying about all that stuff later. Because if you waste all that money early on, most likely you're going to regret it.
I was going to say, like, when you're talking about specifically like at cars, in LA here, there's a very big car culture. So you will see people waste stupid amount of money on cars trying to impress people, and yet, like to Zenith's point, they'll spend that money on a car. They'll have like $1,000 car payment and live in the shittiest building on their block just because you want. And then you don't even have parking for your nice car. You have to park it out on the street. Like I never got that mentality. That some people do have that where they try to. We live in this culture that like people want to impress other people based on what they have.
I will say one of my favorite points from the real estate chapter though was Aaron Clarey saying you got to get a house with a garage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get a garage. They're worth it.
In there.
The best.
Yeah, he's
Also,
100% right about that though.
Yeah.
He
I mean,
is.
garages are actually literally a protection of, if you consider your car to be an investment, garages protect it. It's you put them in the garage and you're protected. You're protected from hail. Real
quick.
Some of the
Cars
weather
are not
effects.
Investments.
No, I know, but some people
Okay.
do think of them that way.
Without your car, you're at a liability as far as your ability to make money or something. Liability.
Maybe.
But
you're at a disadvantage.
It's not a financial asset, but it is a lifestyle asset. It allows you to get to the places that you need to go. So if you don't have one, get multiple cars. And then you can have shitbox beaters that sit out in the yard and get hailed on and all that.
Well, that is also the advice that is specifically given, which is don't get one
and a motorcycle.
Car, get 2 shit boxes and a motorcycle.
Yep.
Yeah, the motorcycle thing.
And a truck. 2 shit boxes, or maybe
one of
them
is
a
truck.
Yeah. Yep.
That's an interesting thought.
You could probably get a couple beaters and a bike all for under 10 grand.
Yeah.
Where are you at, big dog? What?
I
said a beater. Well, like me, I have like a 2005 Toyota. I'm sorry, a Honda Civic that a guy sold me where he was retiring. He was the original owner, so he sold it to me for $1,000.
Yeah, it's a good deal, man. That's a fucking win.
I drive it to work. Like I said,
win.
He was the original owner. He still had the window sticker in the glove compartment, so he literally sold it to me for $1,000.
That's awesome. What a fucking sweet find, bro.
Yeah, and it was literally his work card because when he sold it to me, I dropped him off at his place. He had a truck, another car, and a bike.
Yep, he already knows. He's following the Aaron Clarey way too. He just has to start living in a shipping container.
I will say, I think this is one of the chapters. This is one of the chapters that shows its age a little bit because the book was written in December of 2013. Obviously, we're in September of 2024 now, almost October. The used car market is very, very different. And also just the overall auto market is very different as well. And it's part of it has also been changed due to another part of Aaron Clarey's least favorite parts about society, the government and regulations. Because the government has made fuel efficiency and the different regulations around new vehicles and their requirements, it's gotten more and more strict, which means it's harder to find those cheap vehicles that are good because the auto manufacturers literally are just not allowed to make them anymore. They have to make the things that are prescribed. It's why you see so many of the small truck nowadays that are pretty much the same size as full-size trucks from 30 years ago. And then EVs are coming out as well and stuff like that. But in particular, I think the used car market right now, it's recovering a little bit. But COVID and the great chip shortage of 2021, 2022 really did a number and absolutely jacked up used car prices.
Yep.
Yeah, people were paying stupid prices for, especially people that were taking them out on credit, they're literally all underwater at this point. Like people made a lot of stupid decisions just because they thought that price, for some reason, when things go up, people want to buy them, thinking that the price is just going to keep going up. Like,
hear me out. Green candles.
Yeah, green candles.
One more green candle, man. Come on, just one more.
I'll buy it this year. Next year, I could sell it for more.
Lies.
What a world we live in. But like, we go through the same thing in the crypto sphere. It's like, think about, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling fucking great with Hex doing its skyrocketing like 200% increase over the last
day to be a Hexican, baby.
Dude,
it's just a bounce back. It's just
I've been buying the fucking bottom for so long, bro. It feels great.
For sure. Tell you what, let's talk about some chart stuff though. So
yeah.
I want to talk about the retirement plan.
Okay.
This very recently, I stumbled onto a Twitch streamer. His name's Atriok. He also does a lot of YouTube clips, and he is a he does this thing called Market Monday, which is he talks about like marketing or just economic stuff. So like he actually kind of covers similar stuff to us. Although famously he is a person that's not very, but he says his stance is somewhat against crypto and NFTs, and he's more of a stock guy. But he understands he sees the picture.
Some people like pickles on their hamburgers. You know, they're allowed to be wrong.
Anyways, the point I was going to make I can't even remember. Oh, the point I was going to make is he released a video somewhat recently talking about how there used to be a time when, before we had computers and all that stuff, if you wanted to have retirement funds, you had to go through a brokerage or some sort of registered agent. Cause like, I don't know these stock things. It's 1970. I don't have access to the internet.
He was talking about like $30 a trade, $7 a trade. I'm like, whoa, fuck. Man.
Yeah, correct. So that was, you actually had to pay the fees. And then that also sparked the creation of the ETFs. The ETFs now are pretty much automated markets that buy up whatever is that bracket. So S&P 500, whatever the top 500 companies are. If someone somehow finds a way to like sneak their market cap up like somewhat fraudulently and cracks that top 500, congratulations, you are now technically part of the top 500 companies. Therefore, everyone's retirement that like automatically your 401k that buys every 2 weeks when you get that paycheck, it's now going to start buying those companies that probably shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
So what this is, the point of what I'm saying is that the way that we've done retirements now is that there's large market buy pressure just from this pure sake of people doing 401ks and their company matching and the IRAs and all that stuff.
However long it lasts. Yeah.
Correct. But that's also a demographic thing. And this is what Aaron Clarey talks about here, which is the idea that up until this point, the demographics of the age bubble has worked so that more people are buying into the retirement accounts than pulling out of it. Theoretically, there's going to come a point where that shifts and all the baby boomers are going to be retired and drawing on their 401ks, aka selling. So instead of having this perpetual bull market from just pressure of 401ks buying, we're going to get to the point where it flips and then people are going to be selling more than it is. And it's one of the things that he alludes to in this video is that understand that the markets can shift and don't underestimate people's abilities to screw it up, specifically politicians.
Yeah, and I think he
one
also,
of the things. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, he also goes through the fact that there's been countries in history, right, that have literally stole people's retirement accounts because the country's going broke. Yeah, and that's like imagine you've been saving your whole life, and in your generation, you barely hit retirement age, and that happens to you, you're absolutely wrecked.
It's the idea that we've been operating off this mentality for the last 50, 60 years, and it has not been invalidated yet. So what happens when it does? How do you be prepared for that? How do you prevent against it? How do you fight the government from reaching into that retirement account and saying, thank you for the new tax money? Get bent.
They get BlackRock to buy 360,000 Bitcoins over a period of 6 months.
It's true. It's possible. Like my question to you guys is, does that sound like a feasible future? Like, is this a distinct possibility, or do you think this is just fear mongering and a little too much doom and gloom from Cappy? Or is this a legitimate economic effect that we're going to have to tend with some point in the next like 20, 30 years?
Everything is storytelling, and you would be a fool to ignore this particular story.
Why?
Because like not necessarily that it's going to happen, but you should be prepared in the event that it does. You know what I mean? Like nobody knows the future. Nobody knows what could happen. He makes a compelling case. And so it has to be considered in the decision-making, like in the decision-making process.
Yeah.
So like if people are just like, oh, I'll live in la-di-da land, it'll work great forever. And then it happens, then it's like,
yeah. Cause like me personally, I have, I guess he goes over, with defined benefits and a defined contribution plans, right? And I have both, but do I think that they're going to exist long term? I'm like, no, crypto's my hedge against.
Yep.
Crypto's my hedge against that belief that if something were, not necessarily that I think it's going to happen, I believe it is a possibility, just because, like you said, there will be more retirees than people working at some point, especially as we have the population is decreasing now. And we like I said, we've seen that in other countries where the population of working age people is smaller than the people that are retired and pulling out from the system. I don't think that's a sustainable model.
Remember when Corona happened and all the restaurant workers basically went away, and you go to a restaurant and there's like 3 people working, and it's like, I would like to get some food, and they're all like, sorry, like we're going as fast as we can. It's going to be a 45-minute wait. And it's like, fuck, in that instance, we're the retired people trying to get the stuff, and there's not enough stuff there because the supply was fucking crazy cut because of external circumstances caused by, big daddy government and some scary sneezes and little flus and fizzles that
I was gonna say, I think that'll also affect the people that are retired, right? Because if you have more sell pressure than buy pressure, then naturally the price goes down. So if you thought your portfolio was valued at this amount, now it's getting cut down week by week as more money is coming out of the market being put in.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Cash the whole thing out, and then factor in their printing.
If it go for it.
I was just going to say, factor in they're printing 5% per year. So not only is your portfolio going down,
that could work into this,
your purchasing value is going down too. So like, if you were investing in the S&P 500 instead of buying cans of food, then like now your portfolio number is going down. They're printing more money, so the number of monies per can per like loaf of bread you can buy is also going down. So like, it's just a plummet of value. And it just,
I think that goes back to one of the things we opened up the stream with, which is the idea of like, what is GDP? Is GDP the number, or is your retirement account the number on the screen, or is your retirement account the reality of how many loaves of bread you can buy with that number on screen?
Yeah.
Because if all the boomers start selling, it means everyone's 401k is also going down at the same rate, in which case the people who are already selling are now just more incentivized to sell even harder, which in turn is going to spiral it even further. And that's when you really get that falling knife scenario, theoretically. And if you combine in all the inflationary pressures too, it's just going to double down on it, which means that the stock market's going down, prices are going up. So instead of getting a double effect, you're going to get a quadruple.
Yep. Ooh, boy. Oof.
Yeah. I mean, so I think all of us here are young enough that we have, and based enough that we have accepted that Social Security is not going to be around for us, and that every time I see that line on my paycheck, it is just money into the ether. So if Social Security is going that way,
it's a buy and burn. It's a governmental buy and burn.
This is the worst buy and burn in human history. This is stupid.
They're not burning it; they're sending it to dead people.
Well, that's just Ponzi. This is just it's a Ponzi that they're being sold to us as a buy and burn, but they're also trying to package it as a little lockbox that you put money into, and it's going to be there for you later in the future. Lies, lies.
I'm very excited for Crypto Sloth's buy and burn that we were talking about. That's going to be fun.
True. The $1 million bonfire.
Yep, that'll be a good time.
But my question here is this: we have accepted that Social Security is going to go away. Is it a rational next step to just accept that 401ks are going to fail at some point?
I think that's pretty rational. I don't really know how they work, so I'm kind of talking out of my ass here. But I think that I wouldn't trust anything that was built by someone that's not me.
And I was going to say, the people that sell it most to you are usually the boomers, right? Because they have a vested interest, and you keep believing into that system because they're pulling out. So they want you to keep putting buy pressure as they're selling. Like what is it, Ramsey, right? He's very big on the 401ks and maximizing how much money you put in. Yeah, because at his age, you're not going to live with the results of what potentially could happen. Like by that time, you're going to be in the dirt. So it's not going to affect them. So like I said, the people that are always selling you these things, they're shilling it to you, just like people that shill you Ponzi cryptos, right? It's people that are trying to sell on you. They're always telling you to buy. They're always shilling you stuff that they're selling.
That's true. Tell you what, gentlemen, we're coming short on time here, and I think I got one more topic I want to pitch to you, which is
please do
the hopium. Where's the hope in this book? And I think the hope comes from your fellow man. At least Aaron Clarey has a very unique retirement plan surrounding death, but we're not going to talk about that because that will get us demonetized on your kicked off YouTube. But as far as hope, as in like, okay, economy's going to go tits up. Chasing girls is a negative EV play. why are we living life? What are we doing here?
To hang out and have fun.
Exactly. Okay. So in order to hang out and have fun, he posits the idea that you yourself would like to be surrounded by fun, interesting, smart people who are not douchebags. Yep. So in turn, if you want to find people like that, you should be one of those yourself.
Correct.
And at the point of doing things like working out, like theoretically, is hitting the gym going to get you some girls? Yeah, it's probably one of the best ways to do it. But also at the same time, it's going to ensure that your life is not pain every day from waking up and being weak and having the knees feel like they're garbage and your back is garbage and your neck is garbage. And it's like, okay, so everything we do in life is to live it with other people. What do you guys think about that take? Is that realistic? Are there anything he's not mentioning in there?
I think that, like, personally, the keeping in shape part, right? It's very important because you see a lot of older guys out here, and they're walking on knock-kneed with extra weight. Like the human body, like I'm a little fat myself, but the human body isn't meant to be carrying all this weight. Like we're meant to be, our limbs are meant to be moving. So the more we sit down, the bigger we get, the more health problems we get. And like it also comes to, I think he also mentions the diet, right? Like what we put into ourselves, right? So if we're gonna treat our body like shit and we're not gonna work out and try to keep ourselves in shape, then when you get to those retirement years, you're not gonna be able to enjoy them because you're just gonna be in pain and sick.
I agree. If you like, you are your health is your vehicle, your meat wagon to success. If you got a shitty meat wagon, then you can't go far down the road and you can't meet cool people and you can't go do the cool things. So
that's fair. There's another half of this though that he mentions in the marriage section, which is that you can think that you have your network of the boys that you want to live the rest of your life with, but then one by one a succubus works their way in and starts dragging them out or showing up at poker night, and you say, "Hey, what's going on here?
I'm gonna read about True Fitty.
I'm gonna read about True Fitty.
Damn it, succubus."
Okay. How about Two Fitty?
Dude, the fucking there's a place for the boys, there's a place for the girls. The important thing is to understand that it's not personal, it's all just a business. And so we should just relax, take it easy, be like, okay, this isn't my spot right now. I should be somewhere else, or I should not bring this person that will ruin the vibe. Yeah, basically read the room and do the thing that people want. Yeah, be self-aware, pay attention,
so
read the body language.
Do we have any plans on how to combat the ever-going fight against the boys getting dragged off by marriage and whatnot?
Find new boys.
New boys.
I mean,
what are you gonna do, right? Like usually people that are in relationships, they tend to hang out with other people that are in relationships, and they usually do like group things, right? Or even if they have a hangout at the house, right? The boys will go this way, the girls will go that way, right? For the most part. And then when you're just hanging out with the boys, right, you're usually talking shit, right? Being foul mouthed, you're not watching your tongue, probably saying things that aren't for the ears of ladies, right? So especially me, like I'm not gonna watch my tongue, so I'll just try to stay away. Like if somebody wants to bring their girl around and always wants to hang out with them, I'll just be like, well, that's what he wants to do. That's fine. Whenever you want to hang out with me, give me a call. We'll go watch a game. We'll go attend a live game somewhere. But if I don't think there's anything you can really do about it.
Yeah. He mentioned in the book that it's a game of attrition. Your friends are going to get women. They're going to go and do their own thing. They're gonna change. And so you're constantly just needing to keep the social skills sharp and constantly understand that you're gonna have to just find new friends. And
just tell them, give me a call when she leaves you for Chad.
Exactly. It's inevitable. She's gonna give you that. She's gonna leave you. So it's like just like understand that it's part of the great circle of stuff.
Okay, I was going to tackle this from a different perspective, which is instead of saying give us a call when you're single again, it's saying that maybe as you get older, it takes actual concerted effort to specifically find time for the people that you still want to find time for.
Yep.
I mean, there is the meme that like so and so had a kid and we just kind of stopped hanging out with them. It's like, yeah, there is that, but at the same time, if that person is important to you and you think that they are the person that adds benefit or enjoyment to your life, then it's still worthwhile trying to keep them around and try to fit into their lives as well, because it goes both ways.
Yeah,
It's
you can adapt.
Correct. The world is not going to revolve around you, but at the same time, you only got one life. Live how you want to live, and understand that everyone else is trying to do the same thing. So, I mean, I was reflecting on this one a little bit because I just came back from my annual gathering of the lads from the old college days, and that was one of the things that we were thinking about. That is like, how do we keep this going? And the idea of like, I feel like we always have room on the roster for like one or two more killers. Like one or two more people that are kind of like about it the same way that we are. I'm not saying we have to be business partners per se, but just like guys that kind of like cut from the same swath of cloth, people that are on the same wavelength, people that are, you know, interesting and fun to hang out with.
No one is forever. Your friends will die. You're going to have to figure it out. Just do it with a smile and make sure that everyone is benefiting from the interaction. Mrs. McGettit, you've been quiet for a while. Do you have any thoughts as we are over here running our mouths talking shit?
I feel like this is one that I should stay out of. Just, you know.
You can opine if you want. No holds barred.
This? Do you see a benefit? Well, we're talking about hanging out with the boys. So how about this? Do you see a benefit in creating or maintaining a space for men to be men, and then similarly for like women to be women? I'm not saying like go on girls trip to Cancun or anything, but like, I don't know, get together, go out, see a movie or something as like the same gendered group. Or bake pies. There you go. Yeah, make the
Sunday brunch.
Well, the thing is, I've never enjoyed pie as a general thing, so I don't know about that one.
You know, whatever.
But
fill in the blank. Bake some bread, or I don't know.
Get together and bake some cookies.
Yeah,
cookies.
I don't know, but like whatever it is that girls do, having like knitting sessions or book clubs or something. Hey, look at us right now. This is great.
I think you just called us girls.
I did. That was intentional.
They're calling you a dude.
Oh no, I don't like that one.
But your thoughts?
No, he brings it up in a couple different times where women need a chance to go out and be women, and men need a chance to go out and be men, and couples need to have breaks from one another, because it's inevitable that we're going to drive each other nuts. It's COVID really proved this. COVID proved it to an extreme. Apparently, there have been quite a few people in this recent or maybe the previous generation getting married who really do not like each other. And so they got stuck in the same house when everything locked down, and divorces happened, and like other even worse things that I will not mention because, you know, don't want to trigger that for YouTube. But it's very healthy to have those opportunities and to have that mentality that you do not need to be connected at all times. And me and Nate have gone out with when he wanted to go hang out with his best friend. I went with. There was a bunch of different times where I go with them, and I was just stand there like, this is I don't know what to do. You know, they're over there doing their thing, and it's just like, this is kind of awkward. So, I mean, yeah, I've experienced it. You learn it. Sometimes you got to learn it the hard way, because you think like, oh no, we do always need to be together, because that mentality has really been pushed in our society.
Yeah, to double tap your point, I think you hit on something that Aaron even takes one step further in the book, which is that by having time away from a partner per se, is that you are also giving dignity and respect to the idea that each person is still their very own individual person and does their own thing, derives value from doing their own thing. And the fact that you have two individual people working together is much better than two people who have just become like dependent upon each other.
Yep, 100%. And like we each have our own specified roles, and that's something that you'll hear a lot in the Red Pill, that everybody has like their own biological, what we tend to lean towards. And even if society is pushing us more and more into that space of one another, women are becoming more masculine and men are becoming more feminine, kind of like we talked about earlier. That doesn't mean that biology has changed. That's a societal pressure now. But the biological, like the science behind it, the way our monkey brains work, it's all still there. So it's definitely healthy to embrace that rather than, as Aaron said, becoming a fat, miserable, ugly feminist or whatever he called that. That was that part was like, oh, okay, kind of brutal. But he's not exactly wrong either, because it's gone too far. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain level where these things can go, and it's still like, okay, yes, you want the right to do this, you want the right to do that. They want the right to like insult anybody who is not what they think they should be or who is not them. It's too much.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between equality and advocacy for advantage, and it seems that we might be more in that scenario now. I think the most recent wave of feminism will openly acknowledge that. But the idea that you mentioned earlier, which is the golden nugget here, which is that men and women have their own roles. It's not going to be the same for everyone per se, but at the same time, the wisdom of the last 50 years, the wisdom of the boomers that Cappy's rallying against is the idea that men and women are exactly the same. We have the exact same societal or biological pressures, and that we're interchangeable widgets, and that's just not the case. And the wisdom of millennia before that was exactly what you said, which is that men and women have their roles. We're better together than separate, but at the same time, don't confuse yourself for the one that you are not.
I like it.
Yeah, and very importantly, one thing that Aaron brought up in the book and that I want to mention very briefly, because this was another thing that resonated with me that I kind of forgot about, but it came back to me. Do not try to be both. He was talking about how the government has been taking the place of fathers. They have been providing for single mothers, giving them all these like tax cuts and these like free money if these women are in need, and it's replacing the need to have like an actual provider for the family. And so then these kids are growing up without that aspect, and it's just a lot of our generation, a lot of millennials dealt with that. A lot of us had single mothers, and it was not a healthy way to be growing up. I mean, you can see what we're living in now. You can see how things are going, and it's a trend that needs to end. It's not something that we should be reasonably trying to sustain or trying to encourage in people anymore. And I wanted to mention that because I think that was a very important point that he mentioned.
I think, yeah, that's a very important point. Like the type of men that women complain about, these effeminate men, are the very men they are raising themselves.
Yeah,
because there isn't a masculine influence to teach them otherwise. Like emotional men are effeminate. A man that can keep his emotions in control, on the other hand, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. Like if a girl pisses you off to the point, like an emotional man would probably strike her. And that's that's something that men aren't taught, to keep certain emotions in control nowadays.
Yep.
And so I agree with Miss McGettit there that like we have a problem with society now that on that point.
You guys said it well. That's a whole, we could go a whole fucking podcast on that one, but we got to wrap up here. Before we wrap up, we got to do a quick other round of chat shoutouts. We've had some folks hop in and join us. So Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind, let's go ahead and pull up Mr. Crypto Sloth. Yo. What's up, Sloth? Good to see you, broski. Welcome to the channel. We had an excellent discussion on Whiskey Wednesday with you as well, talking about burning money and having a great time. I am super stoked to have the most expensive s'mores party ever. Burning $1 million for the hell of it. Oh, it'll be great. Next up, we have also got Mr. M Rock Jockey or Mr. Ock Jockey. I still don't know which one it is, but he's given the number one. I see it says like a parenthesis or a semicolon and then finger red number one. So I'm guessing that's like
curious.
This thing.
Big
What
old
do you
phone
guys
finger.
Did it show up like that for everyone? I see
Okay.
the word version as well.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh, that's super. Hang on, let me pull up the YouTube. I've got the YouTube right here, but it's like 7 seconds behind. Oh yeah, it shows the literal words. But in the chat, I can see it. I can see over on the side, he's got the actual red number one. That's super funny how that works.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, shout out to M Rock Jockey. Good to see you, broski. Welcome again. And then we've also got the Weekenders. There will always be a need for iron to sharpen iron. You're fucking A right, bro. That's why me and Sam got the iron tattoo on our wrist here, so that way we can always be iron sharpening iron, the best of brothers. But welcome, Weekenders. Glad to see you here on the channel with us. Thank you for showing up, and thank you all for showing up. All of you guys that are watching us live, all of you guys watching us on the replay, we appreciate y'all spending your valuable time here. It's a super good time. As we go to sign off, I'm going to toss it to Zenith. Where can the folks find you, and what do you have going on in the near future, broski?
Folks, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ZenithDI. It's just as the subtitle says there below. Other than that, you can also catch me in the Telegram, which you can join by scanning the QR code right here. If you want to ask us any questions, give us any book recommendations, hit us up in there, add us, and we'll get back to you very quickly. Other than that, we have the Sunday show this week, our usual flagship Sunday show, and speaking it out into the ether, not this upcoming Sunday, but the week after that, we're doing the Q4 thesis. So we're going to be looking into our crystal ball, reading the tea leaves, looking at the chicken entrails for the next 3 months, taking us all the way through the rest of 2024 into the New Year's. So that is what we got going on. Other than that, next Friday, we're going to be back with the Millionaire Fastlane. I think that's what it's called, right? Yes, that is the one.
I think so.
Yes, the Millionaire Fastlane. That is the book that I will be covering for when I am the host of Book Club next Friday. That is all we got. Other than that, yeah, check me out on Instagram and Twitter or in the Telegram. Again, right there, baby, right there.
So that will be October 4th. I'm going to go ahead and write it. October. And you said Millionaire Fastlane?
Millionaire Fastlane, October 4th.
Okay, October 4th. Millionaire Fastlane. Excellent. That's all you got?
Yes, sir. That is all I got. Farmer, where can the folks find you, man?
The folks can find me right there in the Degen chat room.
Hell yeah.
Other than that, what I got going on this weekend, Ms. Magetta reminded me that I need to clean out my closet and throw away all the useless junk I have in there. So instead of being a relaxing weekend, I guess I'll be doing that.
All right. Outstanding. Mrs. Producer, what do you have going on in the near future, and where can the folks find you?
Farmer, are you saying I've inspired you to clean up?
Reminded me, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I've inspired myself to clean up. It really needed to happen.
Get rid of all that old junk.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I get it. I'm there too. As for me, we've got the shows coming up, as everybody's already mentioned. If you want to talk to me for whatever weird reason, maybe I can help you make some thumbnails. I actually got into a conversation with somebody about thumbnails the other day. He's trying to help a channel up their thumbnail game, as he called it. And so he was looking for feedback, and I was like, my time has come. So that was fun. But other than that, tomorrow, if everything goes as planned, hopefully my mom's going to be taking Soren. Nate's going to be working, but there is a trading event near me for collectors. So for people who collect Pokemon or sports or whatever they want, whatever their fancy is, they're getting all together. Everybody's getting together at the store, and we're going to bring whatever we want to trade and just trade, buy, sell with each other. I'm not positive I'll be able to go, but I've spent the last week organizing a binder to get ready for it. And so, I'm hopeful. This would be the first time I'd go to something like that. I think I mentioned before, me and Nate went to a card show about 2 weeks ago now, and that was a lot of fun. So I'm excited. Maybe get to do that and start kind of getting more into the community and meeting people. Because I've been in this community for a long time, never really gone out of my way to meet people. And I think Will has inspired me a little bit to start doing some of that stuff. So
do it. It's so much fun. There's nothing quite more satisfying than going out and hanging with folks. Z, you got something, looks like, real quick. Go ahead.
Yes, I totally can't believe I forgot about this. But before, I got a request. Can we close on the Pulse Chain Tour Vegas ad? I got the tweet from SJ today. The creator codes are active for 15 more days. So if you want 20% off your tickets for Las Vegas, in case you have not gotten them already, which odds are you probably did, because our code is the #1 selling code for Pulse Chain Tour Las Vegas. That's right. And it's coming back. So again, if you missed the last one and you want to buy your tickets for Vegas, that's March 6th through the 9th. Go ahead and use code DGEN at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off your tickets. And remember, these are tickets for the Pulse Chain Tour itself. Unfortunately, don't get money off the golf tournament just yet. I'm going to see if I can pester them enough to give us a code for that one too, but we'll see. Yeah, codes are live again. Code DGEN at checkout, 20% off.
Yep, I like it. Excellent point there, Zenith. For the folks at home, you guys can find all of my socials linked off of will.pls.fyi. That's basically like the links tree for everything that I do. From there, you can also find my meeting Hexicans link. So if you guys are a Hexican and you want to go meet other Hexicans, then you need to go to bit.ly/hex_meetup as it's written right here. And I've just put it in the comments as well if you guys want to click on the link down there. It's basically just a place for Hexicans to go and organize their own little small-scale meetups. You don't have to wait for the Pulse Chain Tour to go grab a beer with another Hexican in the area. How do you find other Hexicans? Well, I'm glad you asked. You go into the room, you find the area, and you talk to people. Bazinga. It's just like that. Also, another thing I'm going to shout out, and I've done this a little bit in the past, but I've got a I've got a spreadsheet available for doing business with other cryptocurrency people. So if you're a cryptocurrency person and you want to do business with other crypto bros, like I, for instance, used to be a marksmanship instructor. So if you want to get lessons in learning how to shoot, then you hit me up or something like that, and I'll probably fucking do it for free because I don't give a shit, and I'm not trying to make money doing that right now. But there's other people in there that are like web designers, fucking nutritionists. Freaking Jay is a strength and conditioning coach. We've got people that make hats, people that do jewelry. Shout out to David, fucking cool ass cat. There's a bunch of folks in there. It is bit.ly/crypto_bro_services. Again, that's bit.ly/crypto_bro_services with an S at the end, plural. But yeah, that's a place where you guys can go and you can meet Hexkins. And then of course, subscribe to our show, smash that like button, do all that good stuff. I know I'm telling you a whole bunch of things to do all at once, but you guys will figure it out. Y'all are pretty smart cats and kittens. Oh, excellent. Somebody asked you to be their pest controller. Fuck yeah, dude. That's great shit. Oh, I love it. Yep. Nate's on there as well. I think I'm on there. I can't remember who's all on that, but hop on into that spreadsheet, add your info. If you've got a business and you want to do business with other cryptocurrency people that happen to know me or watch this show or whatever the heck, then like that's the place to find them. So it's a good time. It's a great time. All right. I know that there was a book that I said that I was going to do for book club the following week after yours. So October 11th is the book club that I will be hosting. And I've already made the decision / said I would do a thing, and I don't remember what it is. So because I don't
value of others.
Yeah, I just put that in right now because I couldn't remember. And so we're going to do that one. That's where the $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, that's where that question thing came from, is the value of others. So
interesting.
As far as I know, anyways, that's what Sam said when I was chatting with him and he asked me the first time. But we're going to be doing the value of others on October 11th. So October 4th is listed in the book club chat. Actually, shit, I haven't dropped the book club chat. Millionaire Fastlane. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and drop the book club. Go check out the book club Telegram at t.me/Degen book club, all one word. Again, that is t.me/Degen book club. That's where you guys can find the schedule. That's where you can find all the random chat GPT notes and thoughts and feelings that I have on books as I'm reading them. That's where I put all that shit in there. You guys feel free to put in book suggestions, talk about the books we've already read, peruse through our selection, yada, 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 all that good shit. We're doing a regular Sunday show. Next week is maybe special guest. I can't remember. It might be Whiskey Wednesday. Who the fuck knows? We're going to be hanging out every single Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. As you guys may or may not already know, on Wednesday, we have guests or we hang out with the community. On Friday, we do book club. And then on Sunday, we cover the news for the week. So that's what you guys can find here at the Degen Roundtable. Again, we go live every one of those days at 8 p.m. Eastern. So check us out over there. All right, guys, time for the final show copywriting. So I want to thank all of you for spending your valuable time with us here on the Degen Roundtable. As Agent Jay often says, we know that time is your most precious advocate, and we appreciate you investing it right here with us. Let's be honest, we haven't even fucking started yet. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Degen Roundtable. My name is Will Stevenson. Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger figure ready, because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to Degen responsibly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pulse Chain Tour Masters Golf Tournament 2024. Zenith is making his approach to the green on this sudden death playoff between himself and Reginald Gerald III, who already completed his putt for birdie. Zenith needs to make this putt right here in order for his dreams of winning that jacket to stay alive. Let's see what he does. Oh, he flubbed it. He missed. He whiffed. He's a loser. I repeat, RG3 wins. RG3 wins. Don't make mistakes like that guy. Get ready early for Pulse Chain Tour Las Vegas 2025, including the Pulse Masters Golf Tournament from March 6th through the 9th. Sign up early and use the code DGEN at checkout before September 1st to get 36.9% off all of your tickets. Don't miss out on all the fun from the star-studded conferences, golf tournament, and nightly events in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada with all of your friends and favorite Pulse and Hex creators. We cannot wait to see you in Vegas, so until then, Degen responsibly.